Alright folks, today we are talking about Arkham and Innsmouth Travel Guide, two new roll and write games by Crowd Games. Before we actually get into the whole game part, which I got a few things to say about that, can we just talk about how much of a winner this theme is? Like, the idea of being a tour guide in an actively haunted Lovecraftian city just seems rife for devilish hijinks and all sort of haunted tomfoolery, and I would love to just see like a sitcom that has the kind of deadpan delivery of that. I don't know. It tickled me when I got pitched this idea of new roll and write travel focused game where the company has done or is planning on doing other travel games, and then they were like, well, I don't know, Lovecraft is in the public domain, so let's have some shoggoths that you have to roll and write around. And I was like, yeah, I get it. Anyway, on this channel we do board game reviews, so I guess we should actually start talking about what is this game. In each of 10 rounds, the lead player rolls all the dice, and after some kinda cool but also somewhat obtuse pick one, axe two, pick a second drafting, the players are left with 2 digits to form coordinates in their personal map, and they can choose one corresponding location, i.e. 6-4 or 4-6, that doesn't have visitors on it, and draw those symbols with the questionably blunt and squishy dry erase markers provided by the game, then mark 2 legs of a route connected to that square or 1 leg anywhere, unlocking any special locations encountered. In Arkham, these are mystic shops, conferring random powers drawn at the start of each round. In Innsmouth, you'll find extra groups of hostage tourists to unlock as participants on your path. And both games, to their credit, have ways that you can play around with the map, from Arkham having warp points, gates that you can enter and exit out of for more complex arrangements and navigation, and in Innsmouth, you have the ability to cross the river in interesting ways, though both of these coming at a push your luck sort of challenge that'll impact the final endgame roll. Speaking of which, after 10 rounds, players get points for the best scoring route they have without doubling back, counting all yellow buildings for straight points, then multiplying the number of each of 4 types of tourists with the 4 type of buildings that they want to visit along said route, along with that aforementioned finale push your luck MacGuffin coming down to a mitigatable dice roll stretched by how hard you pushed yourself in your sanity or wariness, and coming in different flavors and parameters for each set, Arkham or Innsmouth. And that's, in essence, this game. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's not my favorite roll and write by any means, but the theme does make it a little bit more goofy in a good way, and inviting and interesting and a little bit more funny as you're arranging your things. And there's some mechanical tangles that you can unweave to come to more strategic ends. I like that there's a decent amount of risk that you start building up throughout the game as you try to decide how far you can really stretch yourself, and it does allow for some cool, if not corny, mechanical integration of some of the more over-the-top aspects of Lovecraftian lore, like in Arkham, confronting the old one at the end of the game, or in the case of Innsmouth, you're having to deal with how much threat you've endured and seeing if you're transferring into one of the denizens of the town, the deep ones, the fish people, and using your artifacts that you've acquired by way of taking care of these tourists. I mean, it is strange to continue calling them tourists. It seems like you really could have leaned into the adventure aspect, and you were actually trying to save these people, find the best route that you could map to possibly save as many lives. One thing I want to applaud is that these games make effort for originality and variance. Each board aligns its coordinates different. Innsmouth has personal character powers and a bonus route dice, whereas Arkham has light and dark magical powers set up at the beginning of the game, that are triggered by certain dice rolls and the aforementioned mystic shops, all of which give you tools to creatively circumvent your cartography and ways to mitigate the penalties of each game's respective finale. Both games come out relatively analytical and mathy, though personally I think Arkham does it more for me with its gates and the familiar locations and the more iconic setting, but neither of them is a significant leg up over the other. So while it's not the best Lovecraftian game, and it's not the best roll and write game, I dare say that it's probably the best, or at least one of the best, roll and write Lovecraftian systems that have ever been made. Certainly the best one that I've played, though it's also the best one of these, or I guess two Lovecraftian roll and write games that I've ever played. And if that's where it stood, I'd be fine with it. Like, if this is your jam, your jelly, your peanut butter, the exact smashing together of two things that you love, being roll and writes and Lovecraftian business, then maybe this is going to be a great game for you, and I could leave it at that if we didn't have to talk about production. First off, these games come in blister packs with no other storage to speak of. We're board gamers. The idea of putting this stuff back in its packaging and sticking it on a shelf is ludicrous, with the only thing more offensive being the idea of hanging it out loose. And yeah, my packaging has already started to split just by the act of opening it and taking out the contents and putting them back in. And then the included pens in myriad colors, abysmal. There is so much information you have to document, and the pens are neither dark enough or precise enough to make a good mark, and God forbid you smudge space as you're leading your ghoulies through town. When we played our first game, we could barely see our green and red marks, deciding to abandon them for some standard dry erase markers available in an all-play game I fortunately happen to have nearby, which are both far bolder in ink and far more precise in execution. These seem abundantly available and kind of the standard in the industry, and so I don't feel too bad saying that we should have had something at least on par with this quality. In fair lighting, you could use the standard colors. I have used them, but it is an uphill battle of smudges and squares that might be circles, and oh god, I should have written that smaller. It makes the whole utility of both of these games just come across as awkward. Awkwardly packaged, awkwardly produced, and awkward to play as you're using the materials that are provided. So purely as a game, I'd be okay with saying that these are fun and decently fulfilling, if somewhat forgettable filler. I mean, they have some cool levers that you can play with, there are some interesting ways that they integrate the theme, and there are some novel bits about this that I haven't seen in roll and write games up to this point, but on the other hand, it's kind of mathy, it's kind of rote, it doesn't have a lot of like sort of escalating endeavor, so it's okay as a game. But it is nowhere near good enough as a game to overcome the fact that this is just ridiculous to expect that anyone would ever want to use this as the resealing box for the game, that these pens are good enough to really see and distinguish what your squares and circles and triangles and X's are as you're putting as much information as there is in here. There's just a lot of amateur steps in here that hold it back from being something that would be a decent diversion, an easy recommend if this were something up your alley, and instead is something that I think is now just a total waste. And that is our review. But let me know, what do you think of this packaging as a resealable identity, and where do you want roll and write games to go from here? Do you have any ideas on how this could have been handled a little bit better with the overall attempt in mind, the system as it is here? I know there's a lot of aspiring and published game designers and publishers who watch our stuff. What would you have done to make a better outcome out of this? Put it in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, thanks for being such a great community. You know that I've been Jack for the Cardboard Herald.